underway in Phoenix. The race is now just at 10 laps old. Dan Weldon took the lead from the pole, and then Tony Kanaan, last year's race winner and pole sitter, drove right around him. Now leads. Weldon second. The Penske cars are battling one another.
All this race conditions today are very slippery. You see these guys side by side right now. A little dicey early on in this race with this really, really hot track. 95-degree ambient, 125-degree track temperature.
They go back and forth. Hornish finally pulls out a little bit on Elio Castroneves.
And yet I'm surprised. We were told all week that they weren't going to be able to go more than single file. We're only into the early stage of the race, guys, and we're already stacking them up side by side.
Right behind that battle, a man on a mission. Scott Dixon, remember his problem in Miami, hit the wall, finished 19th. He's trying to get it forward, and he's working hard at it. Let's go down to Todd Harris.
Well, Paul, the situation for Adrian Fernandez is not a good one. He's new to the series. He just came over. One lap into it, he lost all gears whatsoever. The thinking of the team is they're going to bring it in. They're going to try to fix it as quick as possible, if that's even an idea, and get him back on the track.
Adrian Fernandez, his first race in the series. He won in the Indy Lights here back in '92.
Paul, I spoke to Adrian just a little while ago before the start of the race, and he said, you know, driving the cars I was used to and driving an IRL car for the very first time here on Friday, what a big change from what he had done before. He said, I just want to get out there, get some experience, and have an opportunity to finish.
Tony Kanaan over on the backstretch of this newly configured track. Very soon, he will overtake Scott Sharp. Just this early on, they're already getting ready to lap the field.
And that's why a lot of the back markers are hoping for an early caution, Paul, because you can get lapped so quickly. Now, for Dan Weldon, his teammate, he dropped back, as you said, and Tony Kanaan told him he was going to do that yesterday because he said, you've got the pole, but I'll tell you what, Dan, I'm going to lead the first few laps.
Vince Wells down in the pits as well.
Paul, you mentioned Dan Weldon taking the lead at the start, but then falling behind his teammate Tony Kanaan. He's struggling with the balance of the race car, and he's trying to work with the weight jacker, doing all he can from inside the car. But Dan Weldon told me earlier in the weekend, even when the car is good here at Phoenix, it is nasty, and right now he's got a handful.
Back looking at that battle for second place. There's Dan Weldon, the number 26 car, and right behind him is Sam Hornish, the winner at Miami.
And you hear that weight jacker that Vince refers to. All the drivers have some adjustment inside their car. They have roll bar adjusters to change the suspension front and rear, and that weight jacker actually takes weight off the right side of the car, puts it to the left to hopefully allow the car to turn better when the track is slippery. The driver has to make all those preferences himself.
Sam Hornish has 2 victories on this track, but driving for Pennzoil Panther.
Sam Hornish has 2 goals left, he told me, in his career. One, of course, to win the Indy 500. The other one, to ante in $10,000 and compete in the World Series of Poker. Kind of playing Texas Hold'em right now.
Elio Castroneves sitting a little further back with Dixon working on him. Darts out wide, can't get her done.
What he was doing there, guys, was looking to be outside the draft of Castroneves' car in the turn. Right now, he's getting a lot of dirty air from the car up in front. You hear he's off the gas. Now he's applying the gas again. That turn 1-2 segment is very, very tight. Going down the dog leg now, down the back stretch.
On your bumper, outside right, looking, you're clear.
What they're talking about is Thomas Schechter, who's sitting just off the right rear of this car.
You're talking about dirty air. If you want to know what that feels like, go on the interstate and draft up behind a big tractor trailer, and you'll get your hands full.
You see that yellow number 4, that's Schechter. Behind him is Dario Franchitti, who had a moment with the wall at Miami in the first race of the season. Kanaan, Hornish, Weldon, Castroneves, Dixon, and then this guy, Thomas Schechter. That's the top of the field. Take you back to the start of the show, start of the race here. That's Weldon on the inside. He was the pole sitter, moved up high. And then Mark Taylor got himself in trouble after Kanaan was able to take the lead away from Dan Weldon.
Take that, Dan.
Yeah,
that's what Tony was saying.
It's either that or I really don't have an interest in fighting with you this early, Phil. There's Taylor. Whoa, that's pretty serious steering.
He had a crash and nobody told him.
And so that was part of the 4 places that Alex Barron was able to move forward in the first lap of this race. So there it is. As we're underway, the question today is going to be the pit stops. When do you take them? and how is the heat going to affect them? The Copper World Indy 200, the IndyCar Series. Tony Kanaan, the leader. There's the top of the field. You're riding on board with the defending series champion, Scott Dixon. Now, early in the race, in fact, about 3/4 of a lap. Look at this as he tried to make that move on Castroneves, and Castroneves is having none of it. Adrian Fernandez started his first race and went all of, well, not even a complete lap, Todd.
Well, here's Adrian Fernandez in a place he doesn't want to be. Adrian, first of all, what happened?
Well, I was getting ready for the start. I was in 6th gear, and I went down the gear to get ready for the start, and it was like an incomplete shift, and apparently I killed the dogs between 4th and 5th gear.
All right, well, Adrian Fernandez does say, though, they're getting ready to finish this up. He's going right back out on the track. Paul?
Yeah, the good news is they can roll it back in the garage area and fix it there.
A lot of these guys slipping and sliding around now. We talked about the heat at this racetrack with that 95-degree ambient, 125, 130-degree track temperature that Firestone is giving us just before the race started. Watch for this racetrack to come to these guys. When I say that, they're starting to put their own rubber down from these Firestone tires. There was a 100-lap Silver Crown race on here just before. And what that does, it puts a different type of rubber down the racetrack, and what ends up going on with these drivers, they got to get settled in.
One of those cars slipping and sliding is the 3-car of Helio Castroneves. He reported in the car is very, very loose, and they reported back on his radio, yes, we can see it just tight. Tim one of the directors for the Penske Racing team said they want to just stay out of trouble early in the race and stay on the lead lap. So don't look for Helio Castroneves to be pushing it with that loose race car right now.
And the slickness here with these temperatures probably going to get worse. We are now beyond a point in the race where if we have a caution, you assume everybody's going to dive into the pits.
Well, a lot of guys actually were hoping for a caution as early as lap 5. The guys further on back in the field, because now we're starting to lap cars, and that's not what the back markers wanted.
Alex Barron, you saw him in that great start, moved up 4 positions. Chevrolet Power now in 11th place.
Alex Barron is a great story, Paul, because he was one of those renter racers until he filled in for Felipe Giafone last year, and now he's part of Red Bull Cheever Racing. And Alex Barron is a guy that really plied his trade by karting. Shifter karts, and if you're a young guy and you want to learn how to become an IndyCar driver, just take up some karting.
In fact, Alex is still involved in that.
Yeah.
Alex Barron driving for Eddie Cheever.
Up to 11th. Wow.
I tell you, Guy, that his car is absolutely working. He's got to pass all the cars in front of him, up high or up low, and that's going to be a benefit to him.
Andretti Green Racing's Tony Kanaan, the 711 car, winner last year. Out in front, he's handled up one piece of back traffic in Scott Sharp. Now it's beginning to line up in front of him. And these are guys with less experience, so it's going to get a little more dicey.
Tony is the jokester in the Indy Racing League. He likes to pull jokes not only on his own teammates, but also on his fellow drivers as well.
Battle for 5th, Helio Castroneves, who's currently in 4th and being challenged by Dixon.
And remember now, Castroneves, there were reports that he was a bit loose and the tail would go back and forth into the corner. So the driver right there, driving that red and white number 1, he knows that that car's loose. So I would think you got to be a little bit more careful.
You know, Scott Dixon's doing something that kind of surprises me, as slick as it is. He'll take a little dart out toward the wall before he starts his turn in.
What he's looking for, Paul, is some clean air to go over the wings on his car and the air to actually go in the tunnels, which is right underneath here. All those things that create downforce for him. He does not have a car that's gripping well enough right now, so he tries not to run directly behind Castroneves.
The most infamous crimes in L.A. rest on the shoulders of the DA. Steven Weber stars Friday, 9 Central on ABC.
Scott, you were...
There it goes.
Oh, on the inside.
Just trouble. That easy.
Little trouble for Castroneves in 1 and 2. Had to get off the gas. Allows Dixon just to throttle by.
Now with the telemetry on these cars, fellas, Tim Cindric and Roger Penske and Marlboro Team Penske already know what the problem is with the race car. Now they've just got to run the string out to their first pit stop to try and cure it.
And Jack, absolutely. That telemetry is all the information that's on the race cars getting beamed back into the pit lane. All those engineers in the pit box themselves can see exactly what the driver's doing. Right now, they can see how much steering angle Scheckter has on his car right now, how much throttle, how much brake. And you're absolutely right, Jack. They have that opportunity. They know when the car's working well or not working at all.
Thomas Scheckter taking over this ride from Sam Hornish, and I asked Gary Pedigo, one of the owners of this car, what's the most important thing you've learned about your new South African driver? How intelligent he is what Gary Pedigo told me.
You know, and you think about that, with the crash rate he had in the first couple of seasons, one would maybe not think that, but he really has settled down under the tutelage of Andy Brown as an engineer and Pancho Carter as a spotter.
Dixon seems to be in a little better shape in terms of adhesion out there. Back on board with Thomas Scheckter now. Castroneves is up there, but Franchitti's sitting right behind him. And Castroneves continues that slide backwards.
At these speeds, we're covering about 70 yards every second. Who needs a 40 time when you're an IndyCar driver?
155 miles an hour for the leader last time around. 155 miles an hour on a mile. Castroneves is sixth.
Watch Darren Manning right there, the target car. A little twitching going on. That's the car pushing and then becoming loose.
Nice little run by Manning. I mean, he's just been surging forward in the last lap or two. Set up on the back end of Castroneves. Castroneves doesn't look like he can handle that car at all. Three of them go by now. There's Barron.
And you can be sure that the report that the car was loose went up and down the spotters booth. All the spotters at the top of turn number 1 have now given that information to their drivers. That's why it's so easy to get by Castroneves.
Now Castroneves is basically what we're doing, calling tiptoeing, just trying to get the car to the first stop. He's one of the guys in the racetrack right now, guys that are hoping for a yellow caution so they can get into the pits and make some changes.
Buddy Rice right behind Castroneves, who is replacing Kenny Brack, who, by the way, is here at the racetrack for the first time since his accident last year. This is looking back. Look at Castroneves skate.
Yeah, but at least he had room now that the track's been reconfigured. Had a little bit of a place to escape, so he didn't have a crash.
So it's Kanaan, Hornish Jr., Weldon. We have 47 laps into the record book. That puts us 13, 14 laps away from the first pit stop. We'll be back. Back at Phoenix with the IndyCar Series, a quarter of the race already gone, and the leader right from the end of the first lap, Tony Kanaan, is finding himself having to tiptoe through traffic with a very aggressive Sam Hornish in that red and white Penske car right behind him. The traffic just ahead is Ed Carpenter, and actually there's a whole line. Now Kanaan's problem here is he's only had one race with Carpenter because he's a rookie in the series. They don't know really what to expect.
And that blue 52 that Carpenter is driving, he does have some help. Davey Hamilton is his spotter, and right now when you're the spotter, what you want to do is try and get some more cars between you and the leader, and that's exactly what Hamilton is trying to work Eddie Carpenter through right now.
Yeah, there's what you need in your rearview mirrors. Sam Hornish.
But as we ride, guys, we were watching him start to twitch a little bit. The car's very loose. Remember, these guys are on the end of their fuel run. Tires are starting to get to the end of their usefulness, so all these guys are looking for that yellow to come in.
Look around lap 70 should be the first stop, but if there's a caution, it'll be feeding time at the zoo.
Tony Kanaan makes his try on Carpenter. Kind of wisely puts his nose in there to let him know he's there, but Carpenter's saying, I'm going to race with you.
Well, Carpenter, if he gets passed by Kanaan, goes down a lap like we were mentioning, does not want that to happen. In the rear view, you'll be able to watch Hornish Jr. himself actually trying to make hay with this right now.
Vince, what's going on in the Andretti Green pit?
With Kim Green. Kim, is Tony struggling with the traffic, or is the car backing up on him a little bit?
Well, really, when you start to get to this level of traffic, there's a lot of good race cars out there, and so it's pretty difficult to pass. We've been patient. We're not too far away from pitting, so we don't want to make any mistakes. But really, the car's quite good, but the guys ahead of us are pretty quick as well.
That's Kim Green.
You know, from this shot, while we're on it, take a look down at the bottom of your screen, a big square black hole. That's the the outlet that they have on top of the engine for this start of the season until they get to the 3-liter engine. They're still in the 3.5-liter engine, but that opening helps relieve some pressure that otherwise would have rammed in the engine. They're going to get their first test of the 3-liter. You all right, Jack?
Wow.
Of that 3-liter engine.
Sorry.
In April at the Indy Speedway in a closed and private session. You like this traffic, Jack?
Wow.
So you can't see this from the pits. Isn't it cool?
20 years and I'm speechless for the first time.
But that's exactly what we're talking about, Scott. He doesn't know some of these guys.
You have to be aggressive. You have to have that fine line between aggressiveness and patience. Brian Barnhart said today in the drivers' meeting, he said, guys, there should be absolutely no reason that we have you guys hit each other and knock each other off like we did at Homestead just a couple of weeks ago. He put that down to everybody was off for a few months on the winter break. Said second race back, don't want to see any of it. If there happens, we'll certainly come back and give you guys a penalty.
There's the stats on Sam Hornish, who, of course, here at this track has been eminently successful.
You see, he's a motorcycle enthusiast. One of the things Sam wants to do is custom tailor a Harley Hog and take the sterling silver headshots from the Borg Warner Trophy of all his favorite drivers and put them around the fuselage.
Does he tell you who those would be?
Now we're going to have to wait and find out.
Now working on Carpenter is Sam Hornish. He was pretty bright about that. It may not have been totally intentional. Look at how far Carpenter went up to the wall, though, to get out of his way. But Hornish wisely sat back there for a while.
Once you go a lap down right now, you give it up a little bit. That's called courtesy out on the racetrack. Let the other guys get by.
Coming up on Carpenter now is Tora Takagi. But both of those cars are a lap down. 64 laps complete. We're working lap 65. I'd say about any time now we're going to see a lot of people into the pits. Tony Kanaan has led 143 of the last 264 laps at Phoenix going back to the start of last year's race.
Certainly this track, he loves it. It's called this track the Bull Ring, the 1 mile, 11-degree bankings in 1 and 2, 9 degrees in 3 and 4. Very different from the Homestead track we just competed at, a 1.5 mile racetrack with 20-degree banking, completely different setup here.
Yeah. Biggest difference between Tony this year and Tony last year, he's taken on a new bride, Danielle. And he told me, he says, I've got a lot of honeydews, so it's good to get back on the road, get back in the cockpit.
Clear.
Boy, is it getting crowded out there.
You know,
Clear by 4.
Cornish is really pushing his way through traffic right now. He would like to be in front of Kanaan when they come into the first pit stop. Hopefully he'll be able to get out ahead of Kanaan after that stop.
Since we've run green right from the start, this will be our first indication of what the mileage factors are with the different engine manufacturers. Kanaan, Honda powered, Andretti Green has already made the decision. I'm going in as we look at the Yamaha lap leaders after 67 laps. Only one name, Tony Kanaan. Let's go to Vince.
Tony Kanaan coming in for his first pit stop of the afternoon. They're not anticipating any changes. That gives you an indicator of how happy he is with the race car. Kanaan told me after winning the race last year he has a more comfortable approach coming in this week. I don't know if you can ever be comfortable on the track in this kind of condition, but he sure has looked comfortable as far as the race car is concerned here today, leading all the way.
10.3 seconds. I'd like to get that kind of work done in my garage in 10.3 days.
I'd like you to do that kind of work in 10.3 months.
A nice clean stop for Kanaan. A lot of pressures on a driver when you're leading a race, coming in, hitting the marks exactly in the right spot in the pit box so all the mechanics can put the tires on and add the fuel in. And you notice the fuel took a long time after the tires.
Now the key is everybody has to cycle through under green. If a yellow comes out, this could really discombobulate, as you would say, Scott, the entire running order. Should be Hornish next, correct?
Well, they're laid out for both of the Penske cars. I love this. Tim Cindric told me this morning, he said, I don't think we can go 70 laps. They're going to come in as Hornish cycles up there on the 72nd lap of the race.
Well, what?
Dan Weldon's already in. Scott Dixon is coming in. Vince?
They're going to put a turn in the wing for Dan Weldon. He has been shooting this race car all afternoon, and they have not been happy. Weldon in particular has not been happy with the way that race car has been handling, so they put a turn in the wing, and we'll see if that makes it a little more comfortable for him the rest of this stint.
Stop looks routine for Scott Dixon. Here comes Hornish.
Now this guy's, it's the first time the Penske's pits have been split.
Todd?
Well, no major changes here. They said they're going to top him off. They're going to give him the tires and turn him loose. They're very happy with the way the car's running, unlike his teammate, Helio Castroneves.
Oh.
And we got a problem here. The fuel thing, he kept it running. He kept it running.
Now, one of the problems I think you're going to see, because they've reduced the fuel tank, there's Tony Kanaan, where you're going to see with the reduced 5 gallons of the fuel tank, they're 30-gallon tanks now, is now it takes about the same time to refuel them as it does to change the tires. So you're going to get that kind of confusion on the left side of the car during a stop.
Well, no doubt that Hornish wanted to leave. He thought that he had clearance, but the fuel buckeye was still in the side of the car. But what an experienced driver that is to stop the car from moving forward and then wait for clearance.
On board, Sharp.
You see the steering wheel that Scott Sharp is driving with? $40,000 just for that steering wheel.
Buddy Rice is in.
Buddy Rice has a little bit to prove. Earlier this week in the Arizona Republic, his former car owner, Eddie Cheever, had some things to say accusing Buddy Rice last year of, on a 1 to 10 basis, only being a 7. Buddy did not respond.
So the first round of stops are complete as Darren Manning is showing officially in the lead of the race right now. There's still a couple of guys that are yet to hit the pits. So,
including Manning.
Yeah, we'll see. He's one of them. There he is. And that changes the lead over once again on what has continued to be a green race. And will it continue to stay green? We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Copper World Indy 200 continues on ABC Sports.
We're back in Phoenix with the IndyCar Series. Yellow just came out because Sam Hornish lost it in 2. It looks like it might just have been a light graze with the wall. The engine's still running. He may get this thing back into the fight.
Paul, you look at the rear wing, you look at the number 6, how it's actually on a bit of an angle there. I think he just backed it into the wall very gracefully. They might be able to replace the rear wing on this car and get him back out.
Yeah, Sam wants to go, and the Delphi safety team is saying, well, wait just a minute. We're going to turn you around here.
Well, what he was hoping for would they push him and bump start him, actually, but they're going to tow him in. That's just going to waste a lot of time.
Well, it was running there at first. Here it is, Scott.
Into the turn, doesn't look too bad, right to the middle. Starts to come off, and something actually happened there. See how the car just sort of stepped out? Might even broke something on the back of the car because it certainly was very graceful. Out of the car is what we call very, very loose, where the back end wants to swap ends, which is exactly what it did.
With a lesser driver than Sam and temperatures less than 97, 98 degrees, you'd think that might be cold tires. Roger Penske's trying to figure out what happened to Sam as well.
I love the way you say the car just stepped out. You are so calm and collected when you talk about it. I mean, if all of a sudden that was me in that cockpit, well, we'd have to go get some Depends.
Well, I'll tell you, usually as a driver, everything goes in slow motion. They might be going around here at about 175 top speed, 155, 60 average, but a race driver has the ability just to slow everything down in his mindset, and it's very strange to say, but almost like you'd actually could step out of the car and walk beside it.
Taking a good look at the back of the car, you saw Roger Penske do what he traditionally does. He went proactive saying, what can we do? This is Sharp into the pits.
Let's go back to the Texas 500 1 year ago at the end of the year when Jill DeFerrin was involved in a slight accident. They weren't quite sure. While the pits were closed, this man made the call to come in and inspect the car. He knew the rule book better than anybody, and they made enough repairs to get Jill DeFerrin to win the Chevrolet 500 at Texas.
Well, they got Sam Hornish started. They're going to get ready to go back green once again then as soon as they can. The question is there anything wrong with that car as Sam hustles to catch the field, and one assumes eventually get in the pits, get a new set of Firehawks on that car so that he can get it back in the fight. But the other problem is going to be as he goes into the pits is that he has dropped back to the 19th position. So does Sam Hornish have a problem? And if so, can he solve it? And can Tony keep leading? Already the Penske team has the wing off of the car. It looks like they're going to start it. If I was them, I'd send it out, let them do a lap, and then come back in. Vince, what are they thinking?
That's exactly what they're trying to do. And in fact, Sam Hornish is trying to tell them, let me go out now, let me go out now. And now they're going to go ahead and put the rear wing on. But Hornish did want to go out without the rear wing because he didn't want to lose any more track position. So certainly a costly situation for the Marlboro team, Penske and driver Sam Hornish Jr. But as you noted, great job from Hornish keeping it off the wall, even to the extent that he did. And he did want to go out without the wing. And now they're going to put the rear cowling back on and send him out ASAP.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very, very late because already Kanaan is bringing the field back to the green flag and they're racing again. All these guys on nice fresh rubber, full tanks of fuel to stop only about 15 laps ago. Look at this side-by-side action between Buddy Rice and Carpenter.
A little early in the race, especially a little early after those pit stops with tires maybe not up to temperature and up to pressure yet because cars can move around. A little close in that situation.
You saw Sam Hornish roll on the pit road, so he's coming back into the fight now, but he's going to be 4 laps behind the race. It's hard enough to make back 1 lap. At the front, Kanaan is the leader. Little bit back is the second place car of Dixon. And Franchitti moving down on the inside.
And that's the guy you got to give a call to right now, Paul. He's maybe the forgotten member of Andretti Green Racing. He was very embarrassed with the outing at Homestead, Florida. He said, I really didn't get a lot of laps in. I want to come out here to Phoenix, come back from my back injury. And right now he's showing in the top 5, followed by his fellow teammate Brian Herta. So Andretti Green performing pretty well now, 3 in the top 5.
Yeah, except for some lap cars that are there, the Andretti Green cars are all running right together. Franchitti, Herta, and Weldon sit 4th, 5th, and 6th.
An Italian that was raised in Scotland, Dario Franchitti. His wife, Ashley Judd.
Well, one new member to that Andretti Green Racing team is Peter Gibbons, which was a longtime engineer for Michael Andretti all through his IndyCar days, and just a recent addition to the team here just in the last couple of weeks.
I'm pretty sure, Jack, that Dario, who thinks of himself as a Scotsman with an Italian name, is probably going to smack you right in the eyeball.
Well, I also think he gets a little bit embarrassed when people introduce him as Mr. Ashley Judd.
Yeah, that'll get you smacked in the eye, too.
That's twice, right? Okay.
Boy, look at Herta. And Herta gets it high, that black and yellow car.
Cutting that close to the car in front, Foyt to 4th. That dirty air from the car in front certainly takes all the downforce away from your car, kills the exit speed in the turn, and you watch Weldon go by.
Yeah, gives his teammate the advantage there. He gets past him.
Dan Weldon is running a contest with Jim Beam, one of his sponsors. If Dan Weldon wins the Indianapolis 500, a lucky fan will win $1 million.
I hear there's more to that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Why are you stopping there?
His teammates have gotten together and have said, if Weldon wins, they get to dye my hair the color of their choice.
Oh, I'm getting in on this deal.
Well, I told them they didn't have to get a lot of hair dye, though.
Yeah, Scott and I are getting in on that for sure.
The guy that's on the move right now is Weldon. He seems to be actually getting through traffic, being able to place the car where he would like it. He seems to be able to slice underneath people at will. Nice
got around Robbie Buell. Buell has not had his favorite weekend. He looked pretty disgusted yesterday at the end of the day here.
I talked to Robbie, and he said what the problem was is they were slow off the trailer, and it got them behind the 8-ball just a bit. They were always kind of one practice behind everybody else.
But you know, I spoke to him this morning, and he said, I think we got a good car for the race, but evidently not.
Kanaan the leader, Dixon sitting in 2nd place. Next week, NBA Sunday on ABC. Features a lots of offense as the Mavericks travel to Orlando. The Magic in the playoff position on the line at Dallas as they look for the home court advantage in that tough Western Conference. NBA Sunday coverage begins at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific on ABC, home of the NBA Finals.
Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, you know what he used to do in May? He'd go to the infield of the Indianapolis 500. He followed it when he was in college there in the state of Indiana.
Doesn't everybody? That infield pretty much is everybody. Or at least it's people that are going to have money. The ones who already have it are sitting in the main grandstand. At the halfway point, 100 laps, 100 miles complete. Kanaan been the class of the race.
This is what you hope for, just a perfect race like he's having. Right now he's out in clean air, no traffic in sight. He just wants to start flipping off some laps, get a feel for the car as it has some new tires on it, and the fuel is actually being depleted. He will radio back to his team and tell them what the car is doing to start prepping for the next pit stop and possible changes.
Back in 8th place is Darren Manning, the number 10 Target Chip Ganassi car. One of the newcomers to the series.
Faster than anybody on the racetrack now. We can catch up.
He's right, 160.085 last time around. Hornish, 19th, 5 laps behind the lead of the race, is just thrust himself into the position that Dixon found himself in, Manning's teammate, after the first race in Miami.
Darren Manning made a big-time purchase after the Homestead race. He bought one of those 40-gigabyte iPods. He has already downloaded 1,500 songs. I asked him, what's the capacity? He said, 10,000.
I don't know 10,000 good. Of course, I like 57 through 64.
That's because you're an old...
Hey! You like this air conditioning, pal. You need to, little respect, little respect. On board Tori Takagi. Pioneer car.
We call him Tiger, and he got that name in 1995 when he scored 3 wins in the runner-up spot in Japan's Formula 3 Championship, currently being shown in the 10th position.
Well, last year, Tony Kanaan led 79 of the 200 laps to go on his way to the win. Already, he's led 95 of them here. So now, 105 laps. Michael Andretti watches his car. Can it stay in the lead? We figure the second pit stop comes at the 150th lap.
Back in Phoenix, it's very warm out here. Michael Andretti, first of all, what is it with Phoenix and Tony Kanaan? He looks fantastic.
He loves this place. You know, to drive this place well, you have to be very aggressive, and Tony's a very aggressive driver, and it pays him back.
You've got to be very nervous. You don't only have one car in the lead. You've got 4 cars on the track. You've got to be impressed with all your drivers today.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. It's been a couple of hairy moments in turn 1 here with some of the guys, but so far so good.
All right, good luck, Michael. Thank you for your time. Let's sit over to Vince Welch.
Scott Dixon running second with car owner Chip Ganassi. Chip, is Scott comfortable with the car? Are you guys happy with the way things are going?
Yeah, Vince, he hasn't touched the weight jacker or anything yet. I mean, there's a little bit of a race going on there. You got Castro Neves trying to unlap himself. We're trying to catch the leader. We'll see. We're in some traffic here. It should get pretty interesting.
What makes Scott Dixon so special?
He's the Iceman.
There you have it, guys. Always cool, even in this heat.
Yeah, and he's reeling the leader in right now. They're threading their way through traffic, and this is when it gets so very good. Only 2 cars separating Kanaan from second place Dixon. So Dixon sitting back there second. Kanaan leads it. Thomas Schechter driving for Panther. That bright yellow car out there. He's 4th. There, you're on board with Schechter now. Number 4. He's 3rd. Very likable kid. Drove his first race in the series at this track.
On the IndyCar cameras, listen to the throttle application of the drivers, just tiptoeing through the turns because there's not much grip for them. Watch, you just heard them shift a gear over here on the right-hand side. Because of the wind here today, the guys are actually changing gears between both turns.
Scott Sharp not having the best of days. He's sitting back in 14th place, 2 laps behind the race. It's been a hard weekend for the Kelly team.
Scott Sharp is one of those fellows that really counted on having an early yellow so that they could keep from getting lapped. It didn't work out for the Delphi crew, so now Scott soldiers on. And don't forget, the next race, he's the defending champion when we go across the pond to Japan. He won the race in Motegi 1 year ago.
I must say, not only was he hoping for it, everybody was expecting it. Everybody thought between lap 5 and 10, you're going to have a yellow. They went way beyond the first stops before their first yellow. We've only had 1 caution. Dario Franchitti, we talked about him earlier.
So important for Dario Franchitti to get comfortable back in the cockpit of the race car after the back injury last year that wasn't related to racing. He was in and out of the cockpit, and now he's a solid part of Andretti Green Racing for 2004.
A little further back, there's Greg Ray, the only man to ever carry number 13. Three-time pole sitter at this track and the 1999 IRL champion.
Greg Ray is not the most famous member of his family, though. His young son Simon was asked to speak at an assembly along with Oliver North at his school, and little Simon had the paper and said, "Well, I guess I've run out of words, so I'm done." Oliver North was so impressed that he asked Simon Ray for his autograph.
Tora Takagi, 1 lap behind the leader in 10th place.
Here we go. Watch that gear shift that's going over here on the right-hand side. We talked about the wind being a factor here right now. A little bit of a rough ride, but watch his hands. All the drivers on the in-car camera to see how their car is working on the racetrack.
Remember Ed Carpenter had that big slide early on? Well, there he is. He's kept that car in good shape ever since then, but that sure had to get his heart going.
Ed Carpenter may have the only K9 that has its own IRL hard card to get in and out of the pits. He has a pet Rottweiler named Bentley. Bentley travels with him from race to race.
And then the pole sitter, Dan Weldon. He's now 5th. He's sitting 11 seconds behind the lead of the race, so that's 11 seconds 1st to 5th. On the lead lap, it's 8 cars now. Darren Manning in 8th place being the end of the lead lap. The race record here, 125 miles an hour, 125.072. They're averaging right now, even with the caution, 141 miles an hour.
There's Mark Taylor as we ride on board. Now, Mark took up fishing in the off-season, Paul, and I asked him, well, what have you caught? He said, well, Jack, it's a stocked pond, and I've only caught some catfish. From this point forward, it's Mark Catfish Taylor.
Oh, no. Well, you named the Iceman. I guess you can do that. And there's Brian Herta, 4th car in the Andretti Green operation. Boy, it's a juggernaut.
And Michael Andretti says the reason Brian Herta is driving for him because of his way he performed 1 year ago, including a victory. He earned the win. He earned the chance to drive this year.
And right behind him and looking for the position in 7th place is Barron. He's up 10 positions, started in 17th. Alex Barron proving he's a winner.
What a nice opportunity for Ed Carpenter, who we saw a moment ago as Alex's teammate. Eddie Cheever says that Alex has so much experience he thinks that will help Ed Carpenter learn about racing a lot quicker.
And while Darren Manning's forte has been in road racing, he's putting on a great show on the oval, currently sitting in 8th.
Long day for Sam. He had the problems early, got spun around, had to replace the wing for Marlboro Team Penske. But when you want to stay in the points hunt, these are the kind of days you just got to get out there, get up on the wheel, grit your teeth, know you're not going to go to victory lane like he did in the opener.
Well, and just to make the point again, he's currently in 19th. That's where Dixon finished after his encounter with the wall, and here comes Dixon working on the leader. So Hornish, who won the last race, and Dixon are just going to swap that championship position the way they sit now. Of course, Kanaan would like to walk away with the most points. Dixon's going to try and take that away. You look on the wing there, Scott, you see that? That looks like the little flap that they keep the gurney flap in. Well, might be popped up and open.
Yeah, right there on the right-hand side, a small piece of metal sticking up. That's just the gurney flap door, but you know something? It's not even used now because with the new wing rules they have with the 49 to 60-degree rear wing, they do not have to worry about changing wickers anymore. It's not allowed.
Well, then why don't they just glue it shut?
Oh, probably... that's a good question, Paul.
Thank you, Scott.
You know, you should be an engineer.
No. Yamaha lap leaders, Kanaan just running away with this thing. Those others really are as a result of Kanaan going in for a green flag pit stop. Kanaan, Dixon, Schechter. 131 laps complete. Best guess is we're about 9 laps away from the second and, in fact, the final stop of the Copper World Indy 200.
You're watching the Copper World Indy 200 on ABC Sports.
back at Phoenix, it was Ed Carpenter that caught the wall, and that brought everybody into the pits. And it was a battle into the pits. In fact, you saw right at the end of it as Kanaan came roaring out. And I'm just looking, I think they stopped everybody, didn't they, Jack? Nobody's out there.
Yeah, you know, in hockey, Scott, as you know, they have line changes. That was a team change. I mean, there was everybody came in. But I think the guy that benefited the best was Pennzoil Panther. Man, they got their driver, Thomas Scheckter, in and out so quick. It just took my breath away.
So this is Ed Carpenter's car. He was out, appeared to be okay. And you can see, though, there's damage heavy to the left front, left rear. It's about halfway through turn 2.
Just the indication of watching the wheel that we saw hanging there and all the damage on the left-hand side. The car obviously swapped ends on him. So we're looking at Eddie Cheever, his team owner right now, sort of wanting some answers. But the car swaps ends and goes right into the wall on the left-hand side. Not a great feeling for a driver.
Saw Eddie Cheever there. He had his back to us. Have to get out the checkbook again.
Still the rumor persists, too, that Eddie Cheever, come Indy time, may have a third entry in the Indianapolis 500, and it would be 4-1 Eddie Cheever.
All right, let's go down to Todd Harris.
All right, thank you, Paul. Moments ago, Pennzoil Panther Racing, maybe one of the best pits they've had all day. Talking with some of their officials, they said the car is running great. Thomas Scheckter said it is riding perfectly. They came in, tires and fuel was all they did. Paul?
Vince, what you got?
Tony Kanaan came in as the leader, had a flawless stop, no changes. Scott Dixon in second place, no changes. Dan Weldon also running strong, no changes. So that gives you an indication that these guys, despite the slippery racetrack, have been happy with the balance of their race car, and that's a credit to the engineering of these race teams.
And now everybody's refueled. This thing is going to go to the finish, no question about it. They keep it green to the finish. Can you imagine what it'll be?
When you watch pit stops, we have them what we call comers and goers. The guys that didn't make changes, they're running up front. It's no surprise. It's the guys in the back that have to really twist on things and try to make adjustment in this final, what could be the final pit stop, Paul.
Michael Andretti, driver last year, retired after the Indy 500. And 2 weeks ago at Miami, Mike put on a wireless mic and let us eavesdrop and just follow him around to get the real inside view of the race owner.
I'm son. Good, how are you? Ready? We're ready. It's going to be good.
Yeah, we have a good, strong, full boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ready? Yeah. Get a good start. I'll be following Tony. Yeah.
Well, he goes 6 wide as they start for the first turn. And the caution comes out. A car into the barrier going into the pits.
We're a track behind. Sure. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're pass around this.
Thought they're going to wave us around. I can't figure that. Get a lap back. Yeah.
Oh, and somebody in trouble. It looks like it might have been Frank Tiede.
He crashed Darian.
Here comes Weldon.
We actually got that Honda fuel position 5, but I don't know if I want to go to it. Yeah, we usually pans out.
Pan won't do it.
I don't think he understands why.
Why won't he do it? That's his only chance.
Isn't that pretty? Weldon picks up the lead.
Hornish tries to go to the outside. Castellano's going to go low on Weldon to make it 3 wide into turn number 3.
Good job. Is that right? You did good. Like, I don't know, sort of messed up Dan and...
I was trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, I know. No, I know, but I think I understand that, but I think you should probably tell him that. That's all. You know? It was a tough day for you. I mean, you had it, and then it's stupid.
That's the problem with you know, you got 2 guys. I couldn't see who was which.
Which
it was
one
like I see red and white on both sides. I didn't know which one was Dan.
Huh. Oh, okay.
I didn't know where he was.
Right.
I just saw red and white.
Yeah.
So I didn't know which one he was. I mean, I was trying.
Nice. I figure you were. But I think you did just say something. That's all. You all right, man? Frustrating day. Team did a good job, and just a little frustrating for all the others. We just didn't quite have the speed today. We gotta improve.
Is that a great view of Michael Andretti? Thanks for doing that. Tony Kanaan, the leader. We do have another perspective of the Ed Carpenter situation. It looks like it was just a little quick loss at the back end, though we're not yet sure why. We're ready to go back to green flag. And here is Carpenter. You see him, the blue car, yellow numbers on her.
Just a little bit loose on the entry to the turn. He had to pinch it down because Scott Sharp was high. The back end came around, guys.
And you saw the safer barrier do what it's supposed to do.
So with his car on the hook, we could be set up for a magnificent final 49 laps of the run here at Phoenix. They go back to the green flag. Kanan, Dixon chasing him. They pull out a bit from Scheckter.
And Helio Castroneves during that caution got the wave by. He is back on the lead lap.
Very important, because if he now has his car working, because he was running up by the leaders during that last segment, maybe he has a chance to get through traffic, and with another yellow or two, might be able to contend for the win.
Dario Franchitti is closing up on Thomas Scheckter. He may be going for third very quickly here. Right behind Franchitti is Takagi. He's running a lap down, and that creates some separation back to the fifth place Weldon.
Now remember, guys, all the changes on the car, whether it's tire pressures or front wing angles or anything that they've done during that last stop has been done. Whatever these drivers have made changes with, that's what they're going to have to use from here to the end of the race.
Darren Manning getting ready to work hard on Dan Weldon. Leaders on the backstretch. Dixon working Kanan. Everybody's good to go to the finish, fuel and tires.
I'll tell you, those Marlboro cars are carving their way back to the front. They are closing. They are quick right now.
Yeah,
last time by, they were very fast.
Well, don't forget that Hornish 5 laps down. Right. It's a non-game for him. But for Scheckter, 9th place on the lead lap, it's pretty significant. Still running an incredible pace. Over 132 miles an hour, race record of 125.
And only 2 cautions for 15 laps. A year ago, he had 10 cautions for 73 laps. These guys are getting it done.
159 miles an hour, 160, 159. That's what the front runners are all running. Our defending series champion, Scott Dixon. Little better luck today. Plays snooker. That's without pockets on the table.
Also got his first taste of racing watching his mom race on a short track that was dirt out in Australia.
Yeah, in Auckland. Yeah. Let's go down to Vince Welch.
You know, I asked Scott Dixon earlier this weekend, when did you first know that maybe you were a special racing talent? And he said, well, when I was 13, I won Super V's championship. And I said, well, what was so special about that? And he said, well, the next youngest driver was 22. The average age in the series was 24, so as a 13-year-old, I felt pretty good about myself. I'd say that he was true to that feeling.
You saw our Yamaha lap leaders. It's still all Kanan.
Every time that Scott Dixon would win a race when he was that age, they'd have to call him to the podium because he was busy watching cartoons after getting out of the race car.
Kanan, Dixon, Scheckter, 1, 2, 3. Dixon was fastest last lap around at 160 miles an hour. So as we run to the finish, it's going to be a battle at the front. Who's going to take it?
Target, expect more, pay less. And Firestone. For more information on Firestone tires, visit your local Firestone retailer.
Immerse yourself in the culture, Tora Takagi's culture in Japan. And you're going to want to have some sushi, and you're probably also going to need a pot of coffee. Because the next race in the IRL IndyCar Series is the Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. Grab the sushi, get the hot coffee. Sunday, April 18th, live, 12:30 a.m. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Todd Harris?
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Good news, bad news situation for Eddie Carpenter. The good news is he's okay. The bad news, he's not in the race. Ed, what happened? Take us through it.
Just going into turn 1, that lap,
It was Takagi was trying to go under Greg Ray, and Scott Sharp, a lap car, was in the mix. And I tried to just take advantage of it and shoot under Scott. And I just had to turn in a little too hard and just pinch it off and spun out. I mean, just impatience on my part. We had a really good car. I'm proud of the guys. Didn't start off perfect, but on that first pit stop we tuned on, it was getting better and better. And just, it's a shame. I mean, it's my mistake, and it's not acceptable.
I saw you come out with a bag of ice. No injuries, though, to report.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good luck in Japan.
Thanks.
Well, Kanaan is the leader. He's got traffic, said Cheever, Ed Carpenter's owner. Kanaan is the leader. Sitting right behind him is Dixon, but also Scheckter and Franchitti. And just ahead of Kanaan, there's some traffic. 163 laps right now, so we're getting very close to the end. Onboard telemetry from Thomas Scheckter by Firestone.
Look at this throttle percentage right there, 100% throttle. Once you start to get into the turn, you'll start to ease off a little bit, all the way down to almost full throttle off, down to 7%. Squeezing the throttle back up, down the straightaway. Now watch this here, the lateral G's that you have, and that number there, just over 2 to 8, 3, 3.5, 3.8. Those are the peak G's that you're seeing through there, coming out of turn 2, down through the dog leg right now. You can see the speed touching just over 175 miles an hour.
Talking about G's, what we're talking about is the number of gravities, and I was trying to explain to somebody what it feels like to pull 3 G's. Well, it's more than
3 G's, you're 800 pounds.
Right.
Jack.
So let's go to the zoo and get an elephant to sit on your head.
That's what I was most afraid of, actually. Good to have you here, Jack. So Tony Kanaan's going to be closing up on the back of the field. That'll probably, well, in fact, there's the 14 car of A.J. Foyt IV. A.J. sees him coming, moves over. But does he see everybody else? That's always the question here.
A.J. Foyt IV had a rare treat. He's a big Hoops fan, and Bobby Knight is a big friend of A.J. Foyt Jr. So A.J. Jr. took A.J. IV to a Texas Tech, Texas A&M game. Said, Bobby, tell my grandson how to become a winner. He said, well, I don't know about doing that, A.J., but he told Four, he said, I guarantee you one thing. I would never yell at you the way Papa, your grandfather, does.
Last time around, Franchitti in 4th place was the quickest. Speed's fallen off just a little bit. Track must be getting really slick. Temperature again hovering right around 100 degrees air temperature. But now with that pass, that's put Dixon about 3/4 of a straightaway back. There's Buell, Chevrolet powered, 15th place. Dial Corporation, his sponsor, Purex, right here. By the way, speaking of equity within this series, top 3 cars: Kanaan, Dixon, Scheckter, Honda, Toyota, Chevrolet.
Talk about Robbie Buell. If you want to understand the caliber of a Robbie Buell operation, that's the Oakland Athletics as compared maybe to Marlboro Team Penske and the Yankees. Not as big a payroll. In fact, they were telling me, John O'Gara and Robbie, they compete for 2 races. Their total payroll is probably for the whole season equal to what is spent by Penske in just 2 events.
Panasonic car, Matsura. By the way, if you're just joining us over from the race at Darlington, congratulations to the winner, Jimmy Johnson. We have one of those patented...
30 laps to go, 30 laps to go.
Thank you. Patented 40 laps to go finishes. It's going to be unbelievable. The IRL really knows how to put them on.
Big news today, Paul. We've got an additional entry for not only the Indy 500, but for the rest of the season.
Junior is finally in. Al Unser Jr. driving for Pat Patrick. Patrick's famous number 20. This is a commercial announcement coming up from Scott Goodyear. In '99, he led 134 laps to win this. Sam Hornish led 140. And today, Tony Kanaan has led 162.
Yeah, but Scott, they've never passed the pace car.
Well, he's got us both beat with that. You know, Al Jr. is one of my favorite drivers.
You got 2 of your favorite drivers here today. Al Unser Jr. and Don Bailey, the pace car driver that one year is the spectator here.
Glad to see Al Jr. back in the series.
Well, they talk about that close finish between you and Al Jr. a number of years back at the Indy 500. So
at 173 laps, Tony Kanaan out in front, looking like this may be his race. Earlier this morning, this was owner Pat Patrick.
I just want to announce that Patrick Racing will be joining the IRL starting in Indianapolis. We'll race the rest of the season and hopefully for a while longer. We will have Chevrolet engines, powered by Chevrolet, and our driver will be Al Unser Jr.
I've raced against the 20 car pretty much my whole career, and now I'm very, very proud to be driving the 20 car for Pat.
So that'll be great to have little Al around again. Thomas Scheckter and Dario Franchitti. Franchitti had third place last lap, and Scheckter just came roaring at him. Currently now, Scheckter goes to third place. Todd Harris?
Well, Dario Franchitti's wife, Ashley Judd of Hollywood fame, is maybe one of the most tormented ladies today. At 3 o'clock, her two favorite teams were playing. Her husband, Dario Franchitti, racing here in Phoenix, and her beloved UK Wildcats. So I have a feeling for Christmas present, she might have got a TV with picture-in-picture. They would have considerable expense to try to get that feed into her mobile.
Well, now Scheckter runs into traffic. This was when Scheckter got the nose down in and just took it away.
Inside line always wins out. Outside car usually has to give way.
Not according to Tora Takagi, witnessed Texas 1 year ago. So
it's coming back.
178 complete. This thing's not nearly over yet. Can Kanaan stay in front? Back at Phoenix, yellow is out now, and this time pretty serious accident, at least a big accident. All drivers now with Robbie Buell in the background climbing out of the car are okay. Thomas Scheckter is involved, and also Dario Franchitti. There he is. They're all walking around, and there was what appeared to be some sort of debris on the backstretch, and then suddenly this accident erupted. So we're looking to make sure we understand exactly what it was. Scott?
Well, what ended up happening originally was Robbie Buell was already against the wall, and we don't know if he actually left some debris on the racetrack that maybe these two other guys, Scheckter and Franchitti, possibly ran over, flattened tires, because they both came in against each other, colliding with Robbie Buell, who was already parked there. So we'll have to understand what's going on.
And we'll go back and try to take a look at it. We'll first look at regular speed. There's Buell in trouble.
Broke loose in the middle of 3 and 4. Some debris on the
now
racetrack.
Watch this, because here comes Scheckter and Franchitti.
You know, and as a driver, I can tell you, it is loud in the race car when you impact the wall. Actually, there you go.
Well, like Franchitti didn't see Scheckter slow.
Absolutely. I mean, there's already a yellow out. The drivers get to hear it by 3 different ways: by watching the lights, the flags, or their onboard lights.
Okay, Schecter's already slowed. Here comes Franchitti. Ooh!
So Franchitti was not aware that there was a yellow, was not aware there was an accident, did not hear from his spotter, or did not hear from anybody on his team, and watching the dash lights. Now, if you recall, back in Nazareth last year, it was actually Schecter's turn to take out Kanaan in the same sort of situation.
I put the blame for that accident at the feet of the spotter for Dario Franchitti. He should have been on the radio and just hollering yellow, 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 and whoa, whoa, whoa.
And absolutely, and they don't race back to the flag stand here, so anytime you hear yellow, you see the dash lights in your race car or the track lights, then you certainly get off the gas.
Scheckter is properly mad. Franchitti is crashed out of this second of 2 races in this season. We're going to go back on board Schecter's car, look back again. We'll just listen. He slowed well before Franchitti started to slow.
And one of the reasons why maybe he was so quick to slow is the fact that Pancho Carter, a former Indy 500 veteran, is on the radio as the spotter for Thomas Scheckter and the Pennzoil team.
Well, Vince, what's going on at Andretti Green now?
Well, Kyle Moyer is here and with the Dario Franchitti team. Did Dario get any indication from the spotter, Kyle, as to something going on the racetrack?
Yeah, it was kind of late. We were sitting there trying to play around with Schechter. He kept on blocking us, and, you know, the spotter yelled it, but it was too low. Schechter got checked up a lot quicker than we could, and we ran into the back of him. You know, it's just a shame because Dario's ran 2 great races, and here we all sitting on the sideline again. He's been busting his butt to drive the car, and, you know, we were trying to get around Schechter, and he was getting frustrated trying to do that. And next thing you know, the yellow came out. We couldn't check up, so, you know, it's all fault we ran into the back of Schechter and stuff like that.
Thank you.
They're pretty straight up about it.
Yeah, and I spent some time up in the spotters area earlier this weekend to try and get an idea. There's the spotters now. They're high atop the luxury suites in the middle of turn 1 and 2. You notice that some of them are using binoculars. One of the reasons why is because where the accident took place is the farthest point from where they spot. And I mentioned to some of them 2 issues. Number 1, for those of us that are a little mature and need the use of glasses, but number 2, there are a number of motorhomes that are parked down directly in that area, and sometimes, just sometimes, it's a brief moment before you realize that someone has slowed down.
I'm still wondering what it was in the middle of the backstretch, and we're still looking for it. Todd Harris?
Well, frustrating day for the Pennzoil Panther Racing folks. I was talking to them just when that accident happened. They said they were so happy. They were just cruising. They were happy the way the driver, the car was working, and then the accident took place. But they did say over the radio, don't worry about it. We're proud of you. You had a great run today.
Well, the bad news is the accident. First part of the good news is that there's no injury apparent. The second part of the good news is they're going to have that accident cleaned up in probably about 8 laps to run to the finish, with Dixon, Weldon, Barron, Manning, and Herta all sitting on the back of Tony Kanaan's car, and that'll happen when we come back for the green flag.
The Copper World Indy 200 on ABC, brought to you by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. Target, expect more, pay less. And Firestone. For more information on Firestone tires, visit your local Firestone retailer.
We're still under the caution period as they continue to clean up. It looks like we're going to come down to just a couple of laps, maybe 5 laps of green flag. Take a look back at the history of this great track. John Cox, Unser, Foyt, Mario, even Bobby. One of the most memorable is probably Johnny Rutherford when he flipped it over final laps.
First race back in 1964. How much was gas back then in 1964? 30 cents a gallon, and a stamp was a nickel.
Let's go down to the Ganassi pits, Vince.
That's a team that did not want to see this yellow. Chip Ganassi, it's going to narrow your opportunities now to get by Tony Kanaan. Is the restart the only option you have?
Well, Vince, it's certainly not the only option we have, but it's clearly a good one. You know, we thought we had some better options when we were coming up on the lap traffic, and you know, with the yellow, obviously that goes away. It's going to be a good sprint to the end, that's for sure.
Probably only going to be a couple of laps left. Do you give direction to Scott Dixon, or do you let him handle it himself?
He doesn't need direction on this start. You know, we're coming around from the green. He needs no encouragement.
That's Chip Ganassi. Scott Dixon trying to make the move. He doesn't have much time to do it.
Should be going back to the green with 8 laps to go.
That's why they call Dixon the Iceman.
If he can keep the ice going here. Todd, what's the story on Thomas Schechter?
Well, here with Thomas Schechter as he just emerged from the medical center. Thomas, what happened out there? Take us through your thoughts.
Fortunately, I just got hit from behind and slowed down for the yellow. My spotter called the yellow. Obviously, maybe Dario spotted and called it, or he didn't slow down. I got hit up the back. Unfortunate, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Green flag comes out for Kanaan. He gets a good restart. Dixon is right there. Then you have 2 cars, 3 cars actually, that are not part of the game. The real focus now comes on Weldon, Barron, and Manning, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
That's where the fight will go on, but right now with Kanaan, He's got what he wants. He got a clear track in front of him. Probably no traffic he'll run into in the next 7 laps. And right now, Dixon was liking going through the traffic because it gives him opportunity to maybe make a pass.
Castroneves gets way on the high on the track as he tries to get up and get around Brian Herta. They're on the backstretch now.
NASCAR on the lead lap, but boy, what a great day for Andretti Green Racing. I know they've lost 1 car, but they've got the 2nd, 3rd, 4th entry. They're all running in the top 10.
Kanaan, 0.8 of a second lead. Coming up to 5 laps to go.
This is the last portion, guys, where you get down.
It doesn't look at this moment like there's going to be much of a challenge. Kanaan just driving away, running 154 miles an hour under the hot desert sun.
And this is the area where you start to tighten your belts in the car, guys, because you're just trying to run clean laps. Right now, Dixon is sort of staying in an even footing. He's got to be able to get close, number 1. It's another thing to pass.
Tony Kanaan has started running in triathlons, and he said, it's helped me as a driver to learn how to spread out and stay focused. He's been focused from the drop of the green flag, and right now all he's got to do is get into the kick and go to the finish.
4 to go. Kanaan in front. And Dixon, Weldon, Barron, Manning. Front 2 right together.
Great run for Barron. He started 17th, don't forget.
Herta and Castroneves continue to hammer at one another. Sharp, he's out of this fight. He's down 3 laps. There's the Iceman lining him up.
But it's one of the boys from Brazil that's leading.
Now watch this right here. Turns 3 and 4, we're just coming through. That's where Dixon seems to work a little bit better.
2 to go, 2 laps to go.
Oh, Dixon is there. He's closing. What's he got planned as the end game?
Didn't we see this at Homestead with different drivers?
Yeah, but I'm not so sure you can do that here. Watch him prove me different.
Last lap pass by by Sam Hornish on Castroneves.
White flag is out.
White flag.
Just under a mile, about 3/4 of a mile now for Tony Kanaan. Dixon can pedal hard, but he's not going to catch him. Tony Kanaan, final 2 turns in front of him. Looking for his 2nd IRL win and back-to-back wins at Phoenix. He loved this track. It loves him. Tony Kanaan takes the win. Dixon 2nd. What'll happen, though, with Weldon, Barron, and Manning? Here it comes. And it's going to be Weldon, then Barron, then Manning. No change there as well. Wow, a blistering pace. 127.9 miles an hour, new race record. But Tony Kanaan had everybody covered all day long. Yeah, congratulations, Tony. That was very nice. Michael Andretti, hey, you bet. A few extra bucks in his pocket. His car's finished in the lead. 3rd, 7th. Nice job. We'll be back.
Thumbs up, Tony. Thumbs up.
There are a lot of people who will tell you that Phoenix is a very good setup for the running of the Indianapolis 500, and if that is true, then it looks like Tony Kanaan is in great shape. Robert Clark heads up the Honda engine effort. They are so happy, too, to see that Honda in winner's circle. Toyota 2nd, Honda 3rd, Chevrolet 4th, so we have equity. Here is where we sit now, the unofficial order of finish. After a very interesting day that went green for a very long time.
And we did not expect that, Paul, but it was good for a guy like Alex Barron and some of the other fellas that had to work from the back of the pack. Tough day for Adrian Fernandez, but for the first outing in the IRL, there'll be more to come from that young Mexican.
Now, Tony Kanaan led all but 9 laps. That's the most dominating performance at Phoenix since Buddy Rice's owner, Bobby Rahal, led all 200 back in '92. We'll be back to talk with Tony Kanaan.
The Copper World Indy 200 on ABC, brought to you by Honda, proud sponsor of the Indy Racing League IndyCar Series. Firestone. For more information on Firestone tires, visit your local Firestone retailer. And Yamaha, makers of fine motorcycles and ATVs. Nobody's more in tune with motorsports than Yamaha.
Pretty good day here at Phoenix. Wednesday at 10:09 Central. Check into the kingdom. Only Stephen King would create a hospital that's sicker than its patients. The all-new Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital, ABC Wednesday, 10:09 Central. Vince Welsh is now with our winner, Tony Kanaan.
A dominating performance from Tony Kanaan today as he's here with his team owner, Michael Andretti. Tony, was it as easy as it looked today?
Maybe for you guys, but it was a hard work from the whole 7-Eleven team. Honda did a great job, gave us a great power. The guys, great pit stops, and we get out of here with a win, and my teammates leading the championship. So it's almost a perfect weekend. We won at 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm happy for the 7-Eleven team and myself. We had a tough time in the first race, and we're back. So like last year, let's move on. And thanks for all the sponsors, Firestone, Honda, 7-Eleven, and everybody. Thank you.
A repeat winner here at Phoenix, and you told me earlier in the weekend it's going to be a difficult run because of the heat and the slipperiness of the track, but the tougher it is, the more you like it. Were you liking it out there today?
I love it. I think, wins like this make yourself proud for what you do, for what the team does. That was the most difficult condition I ever raced, and like you said, it looked easy, but from inside there it wasn't. But hey, it's here, it's mine. Nobody's going to take it. I'm going to enjoy it with my guys right now.
Tony Kanaan smiling, and team owner Michael Andretti smiling as well. How about it, Phoenix, for your winner today, Tony Kanaan?
You know, about the only thing that steering wheel can't do for Tony Kanaan is calculate the championship points, because he's in the points lead right now by my calculations, but nobody ever should do math in public. Well, they are the previous Phoenix winners, and Tony Kanaan becomes the first repeat. There's still a great deal more to come here from Phoenix. Later tonight on ABC, America's Funniest Home Videos, Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Goodyear, Root and I agree, is one of the best. Alias and The Practice. Now let's go down and see how Scott Dixon fares after the second place finish, Todd.
Well, Paul, the Iceman cometh, but today it was a little too warm in Phoenix. Tony Kanaan out there. First of all, tell me how the car ran with the heat that we talked so much about today.
The car was pretty good. We generally knew we had a good car after the warm-up this morning, so Team Target was pretty happy. It's so hard to pass here today. You really needed to have traffic and see if you could get the car to check up in front of you. But good job by the team. I thought we might have had a little there for Tony if the green kept going. I think what really screwed us was that yellow.
Talk about the balance of the car. You seem to get comfortable. A lot of people, especially Vince and Jack, have said that you just seem to ride the car whatever necessary. You do it, and today seemed that case. You just didn't have the power at the end.
Yeah, as I said, I think it's that typical deal. Sort of once you get within 2 car lengths, it's sort of like you can't really get any closer. You can sometimes get a run, but it's never enough to nail it. And I'm happy. We started 5th, and good points for today, and it's good pit position, I think, which sort of, I thought we might have had Tony in the pits as well, but it was a good job by the team, and a good day and all, and we'll move on to Moti.
Well done. We'll see you in Japan.
Thanks a lot.
You know what I especially liked about that? You saw him pull his driver's suit on. He was staying as cool as he could until the last second. Then he had to get the sponsors up there.
Iceman's no dummy.
Yeah, exactly. Still more to come from Phoenix and the IRL.